How are we looking? How are we
Test,
looking?
test, test. 1, 2, 3.
How are we
Test,
looking?
test, test. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you guys in chat there, let us know if the audio's coming through fine.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
You guys hear Brain fine? Okay. Let me put out an announcement quick in my Discord that this is live. A sec.
Okay.
So we have a few in chat already. Voyager, Dark Ghost, Smirkstar, Earth, Sam, Justin, Lil. How are y'all doing? So today I am joined by BrainDrain from the Trading Channel, and we're going to be talking about the STO economy and the state of the game and all that. So, Brain, you want to give them a backstory on who you are?
How you doing, guys? So the trading channel, the whole precipice, the whole idea of it was one day in 2012. I was only a level 17 tune, but I noticed I was watching the zone chat. There would be people selling a ship, and one person would only be 5 million EC too short, which that was a lot back then, but still, you had these people that had a multitude of ships and whatnot they needed to offload in order to make more inventory. But I thought it was a pretty good idea, and I come up with the concept of like, why not sell and buy below exchange? And it took off really good. It took off really good. Instead of waiting for the wait time on the exchange, having your ship on the exchange for God knows how long, it really took off, and it really helped a lot of people along the way. And hundreds of hours spamming the channel and whatnot, and it was not without its wiles. We had some scammers in there in the beginning, and some of them have since thus changed or changed their names, but became better people. Um, Now, as far as the Delux change is concerned, um, I mean, the way I see it, this needs to be the year of polls, the general consensus, instead of us just saying what we think and what we feel, because this is the game where everybody comes to play and escape the everyday doldrums of life itself, and not to be bullied, not to be made fun of, etc. This is where we are a community of people that all get together, regardless of where you come from, what's happened in your life, and that's the beautiful thing about it, because I mean, quite a few of us have grown up, watching Star Trek, and so none of us wants to see this go on a sour, note, go on a sour note.
Indeed.
Um, so I think with the Deluxe, I think, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. It can go in one or two different ways. Decrease the amount of dilithium per mission, so to speak, since um, we've got so much of it. There's an overflow. Um, this is going to be a poll thing for that a lot of people might want to consider, and I think this will be the year of polls, and it should be. This. I mean, we're a community. It should be, community talking back to the game developers. I mean, we love this game. Otherwise, I'd have given up a long time ago. Um, well, you got AFK. When I first tried it, I remember doing the mirror invasion, and it was just two of us. I'm like, where'd the other three guys go? I didn't know. It was an AFK map, you know, one of the first of its kind.
Yeah, I remember those
And
days.
yeah, and I'm blowing up left and right, and I'm having using critical components and everything else, and then finally somebody said, "You didn't notice? You go as far back into the map. Just sit there and park. 15 minutes, you're done." And it was kind of cool in the beginning. I'm like, "All right, guys, I'm gonna go out to the kitchen, make me a sandwich." grilled cheese sandwich and put some sour cream on one slice of bread and cream cheese on the other with some sliced jalapeno peppers in the middle and then some taco cheese on top of that. Mm. I know I made a lot of you hungry right now, but um, yeah, it was cool at first, but then I started feeling guilty. It was like, man, I'm supposed to be shooting things, not texting on Facebook and whatnot in between.
Yeah. The AFK stuff, it's like I understand why people do it, and don't get me wrong, like I've done it myself plenty of times, but like what
It's
you're saying, like people going into public queues and just doing it is just a not a great thing to be doing.
there's pros and cons to it. Yeah, you want to level up a new tune, get them experience points and whatnot, get them leveled up. I mean, I can see the aspect of that. That's why I was talking about polls. I think polls would be a very important thing in this community to reach out to the general consensus of who agrees with what and who doesn't agree with the other. Another
You know,
thing is you know
on,
we have a lot of people in this game that are disabled, people that have sacrificed their life and limb for this country, their countries, and whatnot. And some people have gone through accidents, car wrecks, and whatnot. And of course, that's why part of the main reason why the original keybind was introduced, which is amazing. Thank you, Cryptic. Um, but it's a beautiful thing. But what's happening with the Delux is I tried to do a general test myself, and I would ask a few people. And so if I spent $20 on a game, and that dilithium is automatically digitized, how long does it take the person that actually grinded for the dilithium to get theirs in? I've had a few people tell me 30, 35 days, and sometimes longer. So I can't say that for everybody, but that
yeah,
was
I
just a
think as of late it's been about 31 days for the deluxe to go through.
okay. So I mean, well, what happens is you have people that are fighting this inflation. They're barely getting by, and people on fixed income. Um, and what's happening is this is where they come once again, repetitiveness, where they come to escape the everyday doldrums of life, take their mind off of bills and the inflation and everything that's going on, and they're faced with this dilemma. Here's the other catch 22 that also needs a poll taken on this. So here's the thing. I remember back in the day when I first got my first fleet done, I had a lot of friends to help me. And that was another aspect of the trading channel. I met a lot of great people. And I always tried to be as selfless as I could to help other people along the line. Um, and so when it came time for colony, they would jump into my colony. They would say, okay, here's the deal. We'll grind, we'll grind your colony. We get to keep half, you get the other half. And we dump that into your colony. And so a lot of people made a good benefit in the game as far as EC wise that way, right? It was no harm, no foul. And but the only thing about the dilithium exchange in the colony is like you could buy $20 worth of dilithium and you omit that fun process of people wanting to do Fed sims. Like you don't see a lot of activity happening in Fed sims lately, unless of course you're a smaller fleet. You're just
Yeah.
starting out. And so there's that bias there. Is it taken away from everybody's fun, or is it more convenient for you to do it without the middleman? And so, and at the same time, you're also hurting the people that can't, you know, convert the lithium to Zen. And so I think it's very imperative that we start doing polls. And how about this, guys? So you take your favorite streamers. This is another idea I think would be really phenomenal. Um, you take yourself, Mixdo, all the streamers, you put them together and just do a general poll. And not only that, but when it comes to introducing new consoles and whatnot, um, we had beta testers once upon a time. We have moderators in the Stowe forums that do that for nothing. Can you imagine the amount of people that would love to help Cryptic in certain circumstances like this? You would be surprised. I think they would be surprised. And it's a community giving back to Cryptic. Just for the pure love of Star Trek. I mean, I grew up watching it. Um, so you guys could be a tester. The pros you get amongst yourselves, and of course, no info leaked. And then you introduce said product at the end. Hell's bells! I'm willing to spend money on that. If people, we get people out there. I'm not saying that crypto don't know what they're doing, but I'm saying, the general consensus of people that are knowledgeable could review these things and, well, what if you do this, tweak it a little bit this way, and be like beta testers, basically.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think sarcasm. You were involved with that stuff probably before I really got into the high end. Sarcasm's in chat here. Ben Sleep said he was also a beta tester, but the issue was that they just never listened to them. That's something Cryptic's always had an issue with, is listening to player base on things, and even the people that they invited in, they just didn't listen to them. I want to backtrack for a minute here and talk about the poll stuff. One of the other games I play, World of Warships, that game has its own set of issues, but one of the things that they do seem to do somewhat well is they'll aggressively poll people. You'll go out and every couple weeks you'll play a match, and right after the match it'll ask you to review like how you rated the experience you just had, and
mhm.
they'll spam you with notifications every now and then saying, hey, can you go fill out this form to let us know how we're doing and what you think needs to be done. And I think it would be interesting for Stowe if they, started sending out after each big update, um, even just send out an email to every player that logged in since that season had dropped, and just ask them, a standard set of questions like, how did you like this content? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? Things like that. And there's more questions that could obviously be tacked onto that, but um,
I think that's very imperative
yeah,
to the overall outcome of a game. Let me give you an example. I remember when Ryza first came out,
yeah,
Ryza Summer Event. So there was this game moderator. His name was Taco Fangs. Okay, I remember Taco Fangs being like, "Oh, what do you guys think about this?" And all of a sudden, my personal message would go up the screen, Mach 5. Like I was like, "Oh," and I'd have to scroll literally like 2 minutes to find that personal message that somebody sent me. That was amazing. So we can still have people that do this. I mean, if you want to do it for free, that's fine. I mean, it would be a way of giving back to the game that we love so much. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I was really taken aback, by the way, with this last 10 forward. I stayed all the way to the end, and I seen Mikey looking at the screen like, "You still here?" It was just a funny look, but I stayed all the way to the end. I was taken aback by the fact that the first thing I typed in when I seen that shit was like feature. It was like I got all excited, like
yeah.
a little kid. It's a new ship. It's something different. It's not Throwback Thursday where you have three ships thrown into one. And let me tell you, I think for a good marketing strategy, and I would buy it. Um, you have your event ship, right? Naturally, it's not meant to be like a lockbox ship because the lockbox ship is more powerful. And then, of course, you have a C store version, etc. If they came out with a C store version, because me being attack, I like flying small ships. I like to be zippy all over the place. If they came out with smaller scales of it, say like one for engineering, science, and tech, I would buy them. I'm not afraid to spend money on a game. As it's people that spend money on a game, you got to keep something alive for free to play players. But I'm a little worried about those that are having a hard time out there because inflation's real. It's real. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
having to work 6 days a week just to keep the bills paid. But I mean, there's there's a lot of people out there that will keep the game afloat. I understand. Like I said, the whole process that the Embracer Group actually bought the game, or the subsidiary, a Gearbox, bought the game, and naturally, you would want your return as well. I mean, that's just common sense. Um, as far as paying voice actors, okay, so let's say, for example, they brought in Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton's on every review show after every Star Trek series there is, so he's well off. And just imagine if you took that $50,000, that's a whole year's salary. You could probably hire a new programmer or coder for it. I might be lowballing a tad bit, but still, it's actually a reality. It's a possible thing.
yeah,
And so the one thing I do miss is the Foundry. And I think what happened in the long run in the Foundry was once the other developers left. But what was happening, I know this because I know the one person that was doing it, was when they introduced the new Endeavor system, people were able to create Endeavor system type scenarios. So it was helping their endeavors get done faster. And it's sad because it's like one of those things where you grew up, and you have to take into context, you have a lot of people out there that think like, man, if I could write my own episode of Star Trek, I would do this, I would do that. And that was the beautiful thing about Foundry. Even though we didn't have all the tools at our disposal, um, but it gave somebody a sense of what if, like, it's kind of like a multiverse scenario, right? They're doing that with the
yeah.
MCU universe. So um,
I miss the
I
Foundry so much.
I do
I
too.
feel
I do
bad
too.
for all of the players that are just now coming into the game in the past couple of years that never got to experience the Foundry, because that was just so much creative content that the players got to make, and it's all just gone now. Really a shame.
Sad. Well, what happens is you take the creativity away from the player. So it's like, I mean, I get it. Nerfing something is bad. You've already spent $300 on this and $300 on the Legacy of Romulus, and all of a sudden they come out with T6 ships. Um, but the Foundry, I mean, creativity, a way to express creativity. And I know I sound like a broken record. This is where those of us who love Star Trek Online come to escape the everyday doldrums of life. Um, non because behind every pixelated character, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a game. Don't worry about it. That person passed away." Blah 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 blah. There's a soul behind every pixelated character. There's creativity, and a lot of people don't take this into context. And I remember back in the old days in Karat, man, everybody would just be
Oh,
calling each other names and everything else. That was a real deal, man. I mean, I'm serious, man. Klingons were Klingons, man. They weren't having nothing to do with it.
Karat
So,
was quite interesting. You met some really interesting characters in there. Uh,
I,
I
I
will.
was never a beast in it. I was never a beast, so to speak, but I watched a lot of other people like Chancellor. Man. So you had Chancellor, Dehu was in there, Omega Fighter. There were just so many people in there. And man, I go in there, sneak in there a couple of times, and it's like, I was like, nah, I stepped into a bug zapper there. So, but the insults, they were serious, man. They were Klingons for real, and then it was amazing. Then there was Ann at Gravatar. There was this girl that used to go on PvP all the time. She's actually the one responsible for making me Ox the Bat. She was mean to everybody. I just stepped up one day. I was like, "Hey, can you help me with something?" She's like, "Yeah, sure." And she just like took me under her wing, and she hated everybody. And she did not like anybody. But anyway, um, I think there's certain things we can do to change a game. It's not being condescending towards cryptic, it's constructive criticism, critical thinking.
Yeah. I think
And
I mean I think the feedback is needed. I think for them, with the path that they've went over the past few years, it feels like there's some feedback that they just have not been very receptive of. I want to jump back to the Delux. They've went on and on about how they're doing things to impact the Delux, and the feeling that I get with it is that they just that they don't care about how the state of the Delux is, and I don't think most of the efforts that they're making to change the course of it have been that serious.
idea for that. For those who are, they could do their own little thing where they could take and they have the stats, they have the data, like how many people are spending money in a game as opposed to how many free to play players there are. And so, like I said, this could offset it. Like if they came out with a tactical pilot version of the compiler,
Well, on
science, engineering. Okay, here's the thing though. Um, what you do is you lower the amount of dilithium for Admiralty and TFOs, and then once the Delux starts getting balanced, take the Phoenix box out for another 3-4 months, the way they used to do it.
Yeah,
Um, so a lot of people don't see. They're like, oh my god, it's going to ruin my weapons upgrades. That's what makes your weapons more valuable on the market, because not everybody's going to have that. Um, that's what made it so valuable before. I mean, it's not as bad as having to pay 350 million EC per pin mod, the way the crafting used to be. And that was the whole precipice of the Phoenix box. That kind of leveled that playing field out. I do remember that. I paid 350 million EC a piece for each pin mod. Um, so yeah,
I
times that.
remember it
Yeah.
wasn't the crafted weapons for me, but I spent so much on coalition disruptors way back when they
Oh
were
my
the
God.
thing around like 2015, 2016. I
Mhm.
I spent probably back at that point like around 2 billion EC getting full sets of those weapons. And that
Yeah.
was like 2015, 2016 era where 2 billion EC went a lot further than 2 billion EC today. 2 billion EC back then would get you at least 5 to 6 lockbox ships at least. And now that wouldn't even get you two.
Yeah, well, back in the day, if you normally opened up lock boxes, you could do that easily with 40 keys. I do remember this for a fact. And nowadays, of course, the random numbers generators change, but that's fine. That's on them. Um, we have to, where there's want, there's compromise, where there's need, there's sacrifice. So, I mean, that's on you. Um, the game has to survive. It needs people to pay money into the
Yeah.
game in order to make new content. This is also another reason why I say stop hiring voice actors. How many of us out there would love to be a voice actor? So it would become more of a community based game. And of course, Mikey would still be at the top, and just a group comprised of knowledgeable people, friendly, outgoing people, and you get them all together and you do a review, like beta testers and whatnot, and or game moderators. Like I said, the last time I seen a game moderator in the game was Taco Fangs, and that was way back. And everybody got excited and oh my god, yeah, yeah, we got a game moderator in here, and all of a sudden, like I said, my PM would go up Mach 5 up the screen. It took me ever to find it. Another thing is about this exclusive lockbox, and here's why I'm going to mention the word polls again. And so, if you take into context, you open up an infinity lockbox, it's like reading a Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
So I think with the polls, there's a lot of useless traits, ground traits, etc., that people really don't use. And so we could do a poll of What would you like to see omitted, from the Infinity Lockbox? Because I find myself in a state of disarray when I keep scrolling down. I'm like, what was this site for again? And then you find yourself right clicking on it for more info, what it does, et cetera, et cetera. It's very time consuming when you have that many in the Infinity Lockbox. So I think that's something they could probably work on while they have an exclusive lockbox before they introduce the Infinity Lockbox back into the system.
I
I
think
think that
for me, I think it's. I mean, it is a pain to scroll through things. I think even some things that would just help um along the same lines, just to make it easier to find things. Just add like a search bar to the window. I don't get how they haven't done that for like the trait boxes. They've added a
Mhm.
filter and then the ability to like type in the name to search for something. I don't get why they haven't done that for some of these boxes yet, because they really need it. Another thing that I think would be interesting is if they converted the Infinity Lockbox over to a Phoenix style store, so that when you opened the Infinity Lockbox, rather than having all these boxes go into your inventory, it's giving you tokens that you can then go and use in the store. So if you get like the rare token, you could go and get a weapon pack, a starship trait, any of the stuff they have classified at that level, and then just transfer everything over to a system like that. I think that would be much more beneficial and user friendly than the current implementation.
There will be a certain cause and effect, like what are we giving up to sacrifice
Yeah.
this and et cetera, but it is still a dual sync. That is a very good valid point. Um, what else was that? I was want to say something else
No,
about that. Yeah, create a temporary dual sync until the Deluxe stabilizes, and then bring back the Phoenix box every 3 or 4 months. Because I think what's happening is it's like what happened back in like 2016 when you was able to refine every 4 hours, and you had hundreds of tunes. Now, of course, a lot of people love doing this. That's how got all the things they got, being free to play. And so it's kind of like on the borderline of you don't want to destroy everybody's free to play aspect. And but there's still going to be cash spenders in this game. Period. I'm telling you right now, if they come out with you know, a smaller version of the compiler, I'm going to buy it, no
you know,
doubt. Another thing, and again, why not integrate some of the community into the game? And part of that reason is the reason probably why they didn't do that before with the search aspect is because they're shorthanded. So they're trying to recoup the money, recoup the loss. You got a company that's invested millions of dollars into it, and they want to get their returns. But look at how many people are already working in other games on their own accord, whether it be a survey, testing, beta testing. Star Trek started out with beta testing.
yeah.
They would give their feedback and etc., and they would not be judged or banned. And so there's no such thing as a bad opinion. You're gonna have good, you're gonna have bad. But to take the general consensus of all of us and wrap that all in one, that gives everybody a broader aspect of what people want, which will make the game more interesting and make more people want to spend more money on the game. I mean, that's just facts. Like if you said, for example, this console is like, but you didn't tell us first. You went and tested it and got together with a group of other people and said, okay, let's try this, and then bam, all of a sudden it starts selling, to the C store. I call that improvement. I mean, it's not condescending. That's improvement. Because, I mean, how many people out there, you know, would love to see this game keep going and going and going and going and going? And it's not a matter of power, like, yeah, I have this sword here and whatever you say, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about making the money, you know? And I don't know. I think some people should be a little bit more open-minded.
I
And that's all. It's pretty simplistic.
I want to jump back to your point on the like having the different versions of the compiler. That's something that I'm surprised that they didn't do more with the anniversary ships
It would be
because,
unprecedented.
well, they did it before with the Dyson. The when the
And that's
original
right.
Dyson Science Destroyer came out, they had C store versions of it, and I'm surprised they didn't attempt that model or that approach again afterwards because especially at the ship like the compiler, like if they had some other ships that were along the same visual lines, that could have been a really good bundle. I mean, clearly it's unique and different visually from any of the other ships we have in the game, and it's generated a lot of excitement, and I
Hmm.
think they could have really monetized on it further by giving us some C store versions that have a variety of different stat options. Especially imagine if there was like a compiler with the in the C store with the full spec seat. I think that would have really made a lot of people very happy to go out and pick it up.
They still have that option. And see, here's the
Yeah.
thing. So as we already know, you don't want an event ship as powerful as a lockbox ship or a C-store ship. So you can actually go from an event ship, introduce a C-store ship with slightly different seating. Doesn't have to be optimal, but of course everybody likes to fly different size ships. Being attacked, I don't want to fly a dreadnought. I don't know. That's just my preference. Everybody has their own preferences. So then you go from a C-store, and then eventually you can release a promo miracle worker ship, for example, of all things. So I mean, there's different ways they can do this to monetize it.
Yeah.
I think it would be awesome. I would buy one of the C store ship. It would be slightly more powerful than the event ship, but not quite as powerful as a promo ship if they decided to release it that way. So I think it would be a good marketing strategy, personally.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I gotta say, I was so taken aback by that because, like I said, for once it was a ship that was.
Yeah.
Remember back in the days, yeah, well, back in the day when you had what was it, three creative concept artists when they did that drawing of the Lucari Hokun, then the Cam. Everybody voted on that and everything. AKA, everybody called it the Dorito ship, the Hokun,
Yeah, I
the
remember
flying
that.
Dorito. Yeah, the flying UFO and whatnot. So there was actually a vote on that. So why not implement that and then bring that into a general consensus? So that would be pretty cool.
Um Steven brought up something in chat here that I thought was a good point. With the if they did have like the other versions of the compiler, I keep forgetting its name. Um,
Hmm.
wouldn't that devalue if there were better stat versions in the C store? And the workaround that they did for that with the Dyson, if I recall, was like it had a unique set piece on the event one. So I think that would be the workaround for that is you have like a 4-piece console set and you have like a really good console on the event ship that makes people want to get that ship if they're going to get into
Hmm.
the other ones.
Well, see, there's a difference though. They would have to rearrange the seating so that one is not more powerful than the other, because that's an issue we've had in the past with past ships. Um, and so of course you would have to rearrange the seating to a certain degree. And so, in other words, you get this with your science. You have more science slots than you do tactical, whatever. If you're science, of course. Um, and it could go down the line. They could change the seating up. I mean, it's totally viable where one's not overpowering the other one. But I think it's a matter of play style. I'd rather fly either a mid-sized ship like a battle cruiser to a pilot ship than I would, you know, a J class. I mean, that's just me. And like you always said, sometimes the best defense is offense.
Yeah, in
That's
STO, that's why the focus happens so much on DPS, especially in normal or advanced content, because with all of that level of content. It is just so much more efficient to not care about defense. You just work on your offensive stats and you take the enemies out before they have a chance to even look at you.
That's what I always loved about being attack. I got a science tune. I would even buy the feature for my science tune, the compiler. My apologies. Um, yeah, I mean, it looks very promising, and they could change the seating up in the C store, and it would still be a monetary gain.
Yeah.
I would buy them. I really would. I'm not kidding you. Like, I'm not afraid to spend money on a game. I don't go all out all the time, but I save my money up for certain circumstances. Once I seen that chip, I was like, yes, something different. And so that was pretty nice for me to see. Um, okay.
On the topic of like the Delux, people are bringing up some ideas, and one of the ideas that I've mentioned before, and I think we talked about this yesterday, is increase the level cap, increase the like the maximum
The
mark of
refinement.
weapons.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, on the actual purchases.
Yeah, so like take us from level 65 to level 70 or 75 to increase the difficulty of things, and then raise the maximum mark on our gear from 15 to 16. So, they did that Phoenix nerf last year, and with your idea to for them to just rip the Phoenixes out from being constantly available again, that would be something that would mesh really well alongside that, and I think would be a big boost to the economy if, people had to wait for their upgrades and all that, and um, when the events did pop up, everyone was rushing to dump money in to get Phoenix again.
hmm That's actually not a bad idea because it's another dual sync in itself. And again, that you want to decrease that dual output as well. So again, when it comes to the AFK, that's beneficial for people who want to, of course, level their characters and whatnot. But I mean, again, that would have to take to a poll. As far as botting or any other issues, that should not be allowed. Um, I mean, it would make it fair for those who don't have that fair chance to buys in game because of inflation, disabilities, and it really saddened me because you get a lot of people to come to play this game. They love it so
Yeah.
much. This is a place where we come to play the game, be non-judgmental. We all have experiences. We all come from all walks of life, and I think it would be great if they could fix the Delux. That would be awesome.
Another
Um,
idea that I had with the Delux, and I'm probably going to do a video at some point going over my ideas for the Delux, but
mhm.
with the Phoenix events, I don't get why they haven't dumped like a T6 coupon the Epic in the Epic tab as a limited available option during the Phoenix events. Like, imagine if there was actually a T6 coupon in there. All these people that have their dilithium that they're unable to convert, well, they could dump it into Phoenix packs and try to get one that way. Now, the thing about that to keep in mind is an Epic token typically takes around 70, $80 worth of dill to get right now. So for Cryptic, the for them, that's basically selling a $30 ship for, 70 to $80 worth of lithium. And
Yeah.
that's
So,
taken out a significant chunk of the market, I'd say.
but if you take into context, if they're able to sell us the T6 coupons to us, why would they give that for the lithium? I mean, you could go a different route with that, but um, I was actually quite pleased that the first time since 2018 they sold us some T6 coupons, which I'm gonna give them all away anyway, like I did the last time in MX Phoenix did a ship review. I just gave him a token. I didn't know he was gonna do a ship review, but the Reliant class. Um, but I think if you lower the amount, uh, you have a very valid point there. You lower the amount of dilithium in Admiralty and in TFOs, and that way you lower the Deluxe, and then all of a sudden you got this dilithium, and you introduce the Phoenix box like it used to be, like say like once every 3 months, and then like you said, do the T6 coupon. I think that would be amazing as well because it gives them something to look forward to while you still have the dual sinks in between anyway. So you have your vanity shields and whatnot. You also have fleet projects that you need it for. The only thing that I'm kind of concerned about is, like I said, with the fleet colony projects, it's easier for me to just buy the dilithium outright and getting the colony projects done. Which I mean, it's easier for fleets that are just starting out. But once you get up to a certain level, like 75 and above, it takes forever.
Yeah.
And so I do like your idea about that though, with the T6 coupon. That would be amazing.
They could even, like, if they're worried about selling too many of them, they could make it so that the T6 coupon that they put in the Epic store, or the Epic Phoenix store, make it so, make it require even like 2 Epic tokens or something if they're really worried about it, and limit it how many
But
people can buy per event. Just, well, you can buy one per
yeah,
event, and
yeah,
it's
that's
going
what
to
I
be
was just
bound
gonna
to you.
say. And so, and again, what would the requisites be? Like, as far as like with the T6 coupons you already get that you buy, you're still not allowed to buy new ships. So, what would the requisite be in order for you to obtain certain T6 ships, as opposed to the T6 coupons they sell off of the C store? So that would be another aspect of it.
Yeah.
So, oh man, I wished a bunch of us just got together and like a hive mind and just got together, did polls, did everything else, and send it back to Mikey and see what he thinks about it and go from there. Like you got your general testers in Tribble, you, McStew, Aries, just a bunch of streamers just get together, trusted streamers, test things out, give them feedback about how this console could be improved, et cetera, et cetera. And if people are going to want to buy it that way, all right. So we already have a bunch of people that know what they're talking about. They give percentages, numbers, and whereas when they introduce a new ship, it's just like wearing a blindfold and yeah, lift it, go ahead. And then of course you always get that certain type of console. So there was also my aspect about the C store versions where you can get different traits. And so, and as you said, the console that came on the World Razor was like, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's really bad. I tested it on a on Tribble yesterday, and it's
Mhm.
incredibly bad.
And so, I mean, with that kind of input, it's constructive criticism. It's not condescending. It's saying, hey, this is a better way. As players, you're going to make more money this way. You know, and I think it would be a unique idea to do. Start implementing the community into the game itself
Yeah.
because we all love this game. We don't want to see it go downwards. And again, on the aspect of paying voice actors, like I said, that salary could be paid towards a coder, programmer. It could bring the Foundry back to the point where it wouldn't interfere with the Endeavor system. And that's exactly what happened. Like I said, I knew somebody personally that was making missions to benefit everybody in the Endeavor system, and well, that was not so good. Um,
The other, on that topic too, that's why they haven't brought the test map over, or one of the ideas as to why they haven't brought the test map over from Tribble to the main server is the first issue is it's got a built-in parser, which will cause a bit of server performance issues, which I think they could remove given we have third-party parsers on PC. Um,
mhm.
the other issue is that people could use it for endeavors or accolades, and I think for them that is something, like you're saying, that they really don't want. They want you to be doing the the normal content that they've introduced into the game, and not like they don't want you using a test map or any Foundry maps to go through and do that stuff. They want you to be doing content where you have to engage with their existing systems, engage in the TFO system, stuff like that.
Okay, here's another idea for you. Another poll. This is why I say this needs to be the year of polls to gather the general consensus, ideas and whatnot. So imagine now all of a sudden there's a lot of people that will do things for free. I know such people. They're writing their own books and stories in Discord. You know, in my Discord, our Discord, I should say. Um, so imagine if they can't come up with story content, you've got thousands of people that work together or individually in groups or whatever and come up with new content, new storylines. And that would I get it. I know how hard their job is. I get that part. Um, you know, Mikey's going through a lot of stuff. I know it's a hardcore job. You got your developers and they want to focus on their own things. But wouldn't it be awesome if the community could take some of that stress off of them?
I think something that would help is if they started to actually utilize Dribble again in general. Like I know we were talking about the test, like have people go over and test
Mhm.
things and like sign NDA type stuff. But in general, I think Cryptic would benefit from having the new content over on Tribble, a couple weeks before release again. But they're so worried about showing us content before it comes out that
Yeah, that's really, yeah, detrimental.
yeah, it really sucks that they're unwilling to do that because I remember back in the day when you could go over to Tribble and explicitly go out and test the new content,
Yeah.
weeks before it was dropped, and they haven't done that in such a long time. At this point, I'm wondering how long until they just announce that Tribble's being shut down.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that, brother. I mean, we need it. That we need every aspect of the game. So here's the thing. Look, you're not going to surprise somebody by giving somebody something bad, But when I seen the compiler, I was absolutely amazed. So, and again, this comes to if you want the income, this is the best way to do it. You take a general consensus. You listen to the players that are playing the game. Otherwise, you're not going to spend any money on the game. I mean, you can go anywhere else and spend money on a game that's actually listening to the players. And like I said, I'm not being condescending. I think this is very imperative, to the movement, forward movement of stuff. And it's not ridiculous. Um, it's actually quite plausible and viable that they should actually take some of our input. Yes, we're not trying to take your job, we're just, hey, we want to make things better, and I'm willing to spend more money on the game if this and this and this is done. And so,
Mar-
um,
Martin brought up a point too that saying what is coming is used in many marketing aspects because that generates expectation. But Stowe's marketing, to be blunt, has been generally terrible. And I've talked about this before, but one of the things that I hate with STO that is something that happens in every other game is, in other games, leaks happen all the time. As soon as a patch on their test server drops in another game, you'll have a post on the subreddit for that game breaking down everything that's been put in there, and it generates a lot of hype. And back in the day, I know we had that with some groups trying to do some leaks publicly, like if you recall, especially when the Vengeance was first leaked,
yeah,
like that generated a massive amount of hype. And like Stowe does not really market most of the new things they do well. And I think the leaks, if they
I didn't
still
really
were
see
happening like that, that would build up hype towards the release of a ship. If people know that there's a ship that they want coming out, 2 months from now, they're going to get hyped up. They're going to start saving up to make sure that they can afford it. But with the current way that they do it, they announce a ship on 10 forward, like the week right before it releases. They might have a
surprise.
video of it, and then that's it. There's not really a ton of marketing for it. I think with how they market things, it'd be better for them if leaks were more public so that the player base could market things for them ahead of time.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think it would be good if a group of you got together, a trusted group that Mike would trust, get together in a group with your best build guys, alpha, just everybody. Get together and do like a review discussion of what this could be this way. And then, of course, not only for an event ship, but also um, in a way project a C-store version of said ship with
Yeah,
different seating, and then an R&D promo ship of said version. And I think that would be awesome. Um, I'm not afraid to spend. I mean, life is tough out there, but I feel bad for the people that are disabled and not able to get theirs in, because there's a lot of us out there that grew up on Star Trek Online, and you know it's the certain mentality of it that there was no harm, no foul in Star Trek Online. Yeah, you had certain issues, you dealt with it, but it was just the way they dealt with it that growing up, that changed me as a person. You don't have the right to judge other people. We all come here, to escape the everyday doldrums of life. As I
yeah,
said before, and you can be who you are, but always remember, behind every pixelated character, there is a soul with a story to tell. They're not going to tell you unless you ask them. But yeah, this game needs to survive, and I think the general populace needs to be a part of it for their general input.
indeed.
And
Um,
I think that as far as monetary gains, I think that's the best way to do it. All right, brother. Sorry.
you're fine. Backing up to the point about the leaks, like, they leaked that all those ships, like, back on that stream late September, early October, they
Mhm.
leaked that we were getting another Terran bundle. They leaked the legendary Akira or Valador. They leaked a patrol escort. Like, that was great, and they need to do more things like that, or not be as strict with regards to people finding that on their own.
Well, in that sense of manner, it gives you something to look forward to, something you've wanted for a
Yeah,
long time. So you guys wouldn't be the one to leak it, the testers. It would be Stowe to leak that and give a hint. Um, this is pretty much like the embodiment of a council beta testers. So it would be you exclusive streamers that know the weather twos, the Y fours, the halves, and the whatnots. So you embody that into a group, a solid group, and you guys test those things out before they give hype about it. And of course, you guys aren't allowed to leak that, but Stowe is.
yeah,
And I mean, it depends on who wants to do it for free and not. But I mean, I've seen other games where people just really want to be a part of the game so much. Voice acting, writing, storylines. You've got some hardcore people out here that love Stowe so much. They are dying to write a story, um, join voice acting, everything else. And you'd be surprised at the amount of people. You look at the conventions. Look at the kind of people you have going to conventions that are accountants, lawyers, doctors, and they get into cosplay and they go to these conventions. We love Star Trek Online. We don't, Star Trek Online, vice versa,
yeah,
and we would always love to be a part of that. Like I would do anything for that on my spare time. When I'm not working 6 days a week, I would jump in right away just to be a part of it. And so, one other bit of advice I want to give out there to you guys. This is a little off topic. If you're just first starting out a fleet, if something's not broken, don't fix it. Um, don't tell people they got to start recruiting and doing all this stuff and everything else. I was always an advocate against that, and then I tried it one day, and so it didn't end so good. So I lost some good friends out of that. With that being said, we'll go back on topic.
I'm
Um,
just catching up on chat here. People want them to make tier 5 relevant again and monetize on that a bit more.
and again, like I said, without money, there would be no free to play content. But the
Yeah.
problem is we're not getting enough content.
That's what sucks about the current stuff, like about not having the Foundry. Like, I'm
Yeah,
fine if the game's 13 years old. I understand it's not going to get the type of development that it had, in the Legacy of Romulus or Delta Rising days. Um, but that's where the Foundry really came in and filled that gap. Is it gave us things to do in the time between content releases, because what we're going to get another 3 story missions this year. 1 to 2
yeah.
more patrol, or 1 to 2 more TFOs, maybe a couple more patrols, and 1 more lockbox throughout the entire year outside of the special events they run. Um, we just need them to do something that we can do to fill that gap, and that is really where the Foundry came in. The Foundry should have
Well,
been the exploration system, yeah.
that would, and again, like I said about the voice actors, like, you
Yeah.
pay somebody, just as an example, this is not true numbers for everybody out there. Um, so you pay a person, say, 50,000 to $100,000 for 15 minutes of voice acting. They're already well off. Do we love to hear those? Of course we do. We grew up with them. But that could also pay the salary of a coder, a program developer who could bring the Foundry back that would not interfere with the Endeavor system. And again, that's not condescending. That is constructive criticism.
And
And
the
people out there, I'm gonna say it again. How many people wouldn't love to do voice acting, the stories, write their own stories? I think they need to bring the Foundry back. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact amount is that they pay the voice actors, but regardless, I think
I don't either.
Stowe is still getting enough revenue, that I do think that they could probably bring in someone dedicated to work on the Foundry. Um, I think the game is still quite popular, especially as there's
Yeah.
still Trek shows going on. So, and at this point, I think it would be a good investment for them, because it would help with player retention so much, giving us the
And
ability
it's
to create our
another
own
bill
content.
thing too.
Yeah.
You can increase the dough because I remember you had to pay a certain amount of dough in order to create your own content. As soon as I dropped my deal in there, they nerfed it. They just took it off. It's like, what happened? So I lost that. It wasn't a lot of dough. It didn't cost a lot of dough, but they could do that as well and create that as a dual sync. Not that it matters right now, but for the sheer creativity that a lot of Stowe fans have out there, their ideas of what they could do with creating new content could actually wind up being a new storyline, a new arc. So I have a lot of friends that actually went to college for you know getting a degree to be an author, and there's one person on one of my discords. That's all he does. He just writes stories. And he's so in depth about it. It's like a novel, but you have to read it one time a day in order to get page by page. But if you comprise that, as a book, you would have a whole story. And so I think it would be amazing to allow that for people to be able to do that again, because, like I said, there, there's so much creativity in the people that play this game. It's unreal.
Indeed.
We're all sci-fi fans as well, so The possibilities are endless.
Waldo asked in chat if they move the Foundry to a subscription model to fund the developer for it, would people play it?
Yes, actually, I think that would be a brilliant idea because then they're guaranteed their money.
Yeah.
So if ships aren't selling and people are disappointed with the drop rates and whatnot, I think it would be an absolutely brilliant idea. So like, let's say for example, it could be as little as $5 a month to $10 a month or whatever. But what's going to happen is they're going to have to create that server space for that allocated space, um, which I'm sure they can afford 12 terabyte hard drives at a time. Um, but it would probably take up a lot of space as far as hard drives. Um, I I find that feasible. I really do. I would subscribe to that just to make content, just to as long. But what they would have to do is make it where it doesn't interfere with the Endeavor system, or say like salvage. Like, well, we had Ludomatic 3000. That was fun. That's how it started helping me out. Once they introduced the salvage system, no, I would go to Ludomatic 3000 in the Foundry.
Yeah.
But what they would have to do, they would have to find a way to differentiate the Foundry from the Endeavor system. They would have to separate that. And that's what happened with the Foundry before they nerfed it. It was interfering with the Endeavor system. I do know that for a fact because I was doing it myself. But it was another person I knew that actually created two specific missions to get some of your endeavors done. I would subscribe to that. That's guaranteed money for them. I want to help the game out, and I said that for years. And in the early years before Mike came along, I said, "Look, guys," they was always pounding on pay to win, pay to win. I said, "Look, it's like life. Where there's want, there's compromise. Where there's need, there's sacrifice. And you don't get nothing for free, even though it's pixelated. I'm sorry, servers don't run for free. Electricity is not free. Employees are not free, and there you have it right there. So I always advocated for that in the beginning years of the trading channel, and I took a brief hiatus for 2 years. My computer took a dump on me. Then I came back, and I don't know. It wasn't that I was disappointed, but I always felt that the community should have more
More
say
input.
so in the game.
Um, Someone's asked, following up on Waldo's question there. Speaking about free to play players or subscribers about Foundry, how much people agree to pay for subscription? I think
Oh,
just an
you're
idea
full.
of like would people be even willing to like pay for it? And I do agree with there's another comment here from Spike about, how many players in the actual player base, like the overall player base, engage with the Foundry content, because we know that the majority of players already don't engage with the TFO system, and I don't have those numbers. Only Cryptic would have the numbers about how many or like the percentage of
Well,
players that engaged at the time.
again, this is why I said this should be the year of polls for the
Yeah,
community to interact with certain given questions. And that's something you're pretty good at, Spencer. General consensus numbers. How many of you would pay for a subscription to start the Founder again, et cetera, et cetera? No more voice actors. Take that 50 grand, 100 grand. How much? I don't know how much was paid. And pay a programmer. Somebody that can fix the bugs, whatnot. That's a tedious job. It's a very arduous job. And I already know Mike's job is hard. I mean, I'm not stupid. I've known what the past community managers have gone through. Trendy was pretty cool, um, and Brand Flakes, but it's not easy by no means. So, as a community manager, you yourself want to play the game, but sometimes you find yourself in a disposition where you can't. So that's kind of frustrating. I get that aspect of it, and But I think what we need to do is start doing polls with everybody, and before we make a conclusion, um, that is without fact, we give the general consensus numbers,
Yeah.
to Mike. I think that would be that way. We're not being condescending. It's just everybody saying, "Hey, this would be cool. This would be cool. I'll spend more money if we do it this way, that way, etc." Like, I'm not afraid. I mean, don't get me wrong. I struggle to pay my bills. I live alone, so I pay all my bills by myself. Um, but again, there's people out there that are disabled, and it saddens me with the whole Delux thing going on. But I think this should be a year of polls. All of you streamers out there, start doing polls, and it's not because it's all about us, because what we say or vote on might change the outcome for Stowe as well, monetary wise.
Yeah.
And it's a better way for them to make more money. If somebody says, nah, you're the broadsword or claymore, it doesn't have to be like that. And so basically, what we're trying to do, we're trying to protect the game that we love the most, and in voicing our opinions. And so when you do this with polls, you're getting a broader number of people either
We
um,
we would really
correlating.
need
Yeah.
we would really need Cryptic to be the ones to do the polls. We would have to push them because if we do any polls on like YouTube or Reddit, that's only going to be a small part of the audience, and they're going to be biased towards the things that we're trying to go for.
Well,
That's
this is what I'm saying. If there was if they allowed you guys, you streamers, you get together, you do these polls, et cetera, it's gonna have to happen. I mean, something's gonna have to give at one point or another. I mean, like I told you before, I just got to the point where it's nothing interesting. Um, say every once in a blue moon, like it's been since 2018 since we got T6 coupons. I was really thankful for that too, by the way. So thank you, Mike. Um, and I'm gonna give them away just like I did the last time. But at least that's a way to show other people that's been around you that you appreciate them. Um, but again, these polls need to be done.
yeah. And like
If
Waldo is
not,
saying,
well, if they don't take them seriously, then people's not going to spend money on a game, and of course, Gearbox is not going to get the return on the investment. See what I did there?
yeah,
So you got Embracer Group; they've got tons of games already, and Gearbox is just one subsidiary of the whole entire Embracer Group. So in order to get the return on it, it's not going to hurt. It's not going to destroy anybody's credibility, or they're still the big boss no matter what. But it was just my overall um, view on things. I think it would be amazing. Bring back the Foundry, send some ideas in, get a group of individual testers. They already have free mods on the Stowe forums. They don't they don't get paid for it. They do it voluntarily. And, I think what would also be neat is, like, every time new content is created, you get another random game moderator. It could be you, it could be Mixture, it could be Eric, just anybody. Hey, what do you think about the new content so far, guys? And watch the zone chat go absolutely ballistic. People love it when one of the game moderators interact with them, because I can remember that from um, when Ryza, the summer event, first came out. Taco Fangs came out, and that was crazy.
yeah,
But
Taco's done some nice job on some of these maps for sure.
he did. He really, really did. And it was really cool that he interacted with people, and people felt what's the word I'm looking for? Empowered. They're like, oh my God, they're talking to us.
Yeah, communication has definitely not
Exactly.
been what it used to be with this game, and I'd very much like to see that change. More engagement. The polls, like Cartsy said in my chat,
The
like the
integrity.
audience here on my YouTube or Mixed News would be really skewed. We would need to really push for Cryptic to be the one doing the polls, because they could get the emails out to all of the active players, and they could even go in and say, if you
Too much
fill this
work.
out, you get a master key. That would get a lot of engagement.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's too much work. That's why I'm saying us as a
Yeah.
general consensus. Say you for example, McStew, some other streamers, just do a poll, and just not everybody follows everybody at the same time. Do a general consensus, send it to Cryptic. That way they ain't got to go through all that hassle of sending, individual emails out and whatnot. And of course, it's going to take them forever to look at each and every individual mail, as opposed to a general consensus poll where the numbers are right there, all on one page. That would be a lot of work for them. I would not want to put that on anybody. But yeah, like you said, having somebody that's interacting with the community, that's incentive right there in itself, because it
Yeah.
shows that Taco Things was really interested. He was really genuinely interested of what people thought about that particular map at that time, and people went nuts. So that tells you communication is a big thing between the game and the players. And Taco Things is the only one I've ever seen do that since 2012. I would say it was pretty neat.
And he
So
still
that's an
engages. Um,
what?
yeah, I saw him in Triz's stream a couple weeks ago. Or a couple months ago. So we were doing like a Stowcast, myself, McStud, Triz, Sark, and Goss, I believe. And we were talking about the prior content drop, and I felt bad because we got to the point where we were talking about the new TFO, and it was that ground V'ger map, and um I made a comment about it's a ground TFO, so nobody's going to play it long term, and he was in there really sad about it, and I was like, I feel like a bit of a dick saying what I just did, but it's a good map. It's just some of the ground TFOs just can be a bit rough, and it's
Oh,
not
the
that the
Borg
map is
ones were
bad.
off for
It's
me.
what's that?
I didn't want anything to do with the Borg ones. You go up to the top floor, you go down to the bottom
Oh
floor,
yeah,
and then you go back up, and then you go back to. It just confused me too much. But I have another friend of mine that is a PvP player. He was like, "Good God, man, this isn't ground track; it's Star Trek." He just did not like ground
yeah.
runs.
It's the ground. The ground system in this game is not that great, and like I think the maps, some of them
It
look
does reward
amazing.
you more skill though in most
Like
missions.
some of these maps truly do look amazing. And I think the feature map did look good. But yeah, I don't play this game for the ground combat. I play it to fly my ship around, so I am going to be biased against any non-space content. That is not the
Yeah.
exchange, because the exchange is lovely. I love it.
I'm still waiting for them to come out with an R-rated version of Star Trek. Like, I don't know why they turned down Quentin Tarantino. Can you imagine what it would be like walking up to somebody with a bat lift and just literally? Never mind. I'll leave that alone. Um, uh, they need to make something new
Yeah.
for Star Trek. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes it's too PG for me. There needs to be a more realistic visualization for the game. Sometimes I often think to myself, but I like it as it is. But still,
Um
it would be nice. Uh,
Berkstar asked, what about a ground TFO that takes place on a ship in space? I can be more accepting of that. And there used to be content
oh,
like that in the game where you're like fighting off a boarding party. Like I remember one of the missions a very long time ago, like the Fed starting like tutorial and all that was like your ship was being attacked by the Borg, and it had been was being overrun, and you had to fight the Borg back off your ship, right?
oh,
And like that was cool. I miss that content. And there is no way for me to go through and play that type of content again, which makes me very sad. Boarding an enemy ship or boarding another one, yeah, that type of content's cool. You know, when you think of like space combat, that makes sense. And I guess this patrol that we just got, the ground patrol, it's actually sort of along those lines because we're going in and boarding a a space station, right? So that's quite cool.
I mean, I don't know, but I think to a certain degree. All right. So, what's the majority of shooter games out there? If you take into context, from what point of view does it come?
First person, which is very much
Correct.
an issue here.
Correct. So, what's the one thing we haven't tried here yet? Not really.
Yeah,
Where
first
it's locked and loaded. Yeah,
yeah.
first person. So we haven't tried that yet. So that's a whole new aspect that they could possibly try. It's first person shooters is really huge. I think they could possibly try that. But again, I'm not trying to throw bricks at anybody. I'm just saying these are just the infinite possibilities that they haven't explored yet. There is an infinite amount of possibilities they haven't explored yet. So that would be awesome. Now, if they went to first person shooter, I would definitely do it. Because sometimes when you're in third person and you have a map that is so large, for some reason, for me, I don't know if anybody else is like this. When you do certain Borg missions, like I could never get those down. Go up to the top floor, come down to the bottom door, shut this gun down, go back to the bottom floor, go back up to the top. Hey, it's just if I seen it first person, I think it would be a little more simplistic for me.
There is like a first person shooter mode in the game, but it's not very
Kind of.
good.
Yeah, kind of. That's why I think it would be absolutely phenomenal if they actually went with a first person shooter ground TFO. I guarantee you that will probably be one of the most favorable
Just a
TFOs.
general revamp to like the shooter mode, I think would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
I am
mean,
gonna have to start to wrap things up here, just because my mom's gonna be going to the hospital here soon because she's had some issues with her rotator cuff on her shoulder. So
mom is first, always.
yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
no, you're fine.
No, trust me, brother. All right, hey guys, Godspeed, both in life and in game. Take care of yourselves and talk to you guys another time, hopefully.
Yeah. Thank you, Brain Drain, for coming on, and thank you everyone for stopping by. That is going to be it for this. May have another conversation here in the future, but that's it today. Again, thank you all for stopping by, and see you guys around.